Okay, so I used to say that the outer planets were sort of co-ruling. Uranus co-ruled Saturn, like the governments and the unions, but Neptune co-ruled Jupiter, and Pluto co-ruled Mars. I don't even do it now. I don't even put them in the rulership. So right now I wouldn't have these on the tree, but it's the drawing I've used for many years. But that's the traditional way. Many people will think that way, or many people just put Uranus to Aquarius, Neptune to Pisces, and then Pluto to Scorpio, and then it's not following any rhythm or natural system, just an association. Scorpios are so intense. But all of the things that you judge, they're judging for the Uranus, Neptune, Pluto to ruling these, the other planets to rule it. The intensity of Pluto, it can be in passions in Scorpio. You can see that just by Mars. The morality and principles of Neptune, the beliefs of Neptune, you can see that in the Jupiter influence of Saturn, and the need to change things. So you can see that in the structure of Saturn. Like, and so there's not a need. It's a distortion to report that. It really is, by using the outer planets as rulerships, you're really diminishing your capacity to understand Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which are your primary functional planets out in the world. And a tendency to judge signs really extremely, way be out of proportion. Okay, so the Neptune beliefs, it's enough that Jupiter has the beliefs and the principles in Sag and Pisces. They can be right or wrong. They can exaggerate it. They can be self-righteous. They can be guilt-ridden. They can be whatever. All those things can be there just from Jupiter. Don't need to mess up Neptune with this. And strength and energy and courage, that's in Aries, the Mars, and in Scorpio, and the tendency to push things to see how far to be competitive and the fight for life and death. That's there with Mars. You don't have to bring Pluto into that. Okay, so basically, okay, I'm going to come from here. I don't know if I'm going to. Yeah, I just did all this, the masculine and feminine signs, the coldest sign. Yeah, okay, so that we don't have to go over that. Okay, this is my chart. I'm going to start with mine. When you want to make something called the rulership tree, which are the main rulers of our chart, which are the most important rulers? Really, that the rulers, if I have a planet in the sign it rules, it's one of your most important rulers. It starts from the planets and signs ruling. So if you don't have any planets in ruling signs, then it juggles around a little bit, but we're going to go through these examples of determining which rulers are the most important, which are the most priority, which ones have the most influence, which ones are your spiritual challenges the most. So if I look around my chart, see Uranus, so there's the moon in Cancer. Okay, that's Uranus is a Gemini, it's ruled by Mercury. So how my thinking is going to affect my excitement, but my security, my moon's in Cancer, that's a strong rulership. That's going to be very predominant. If I feel good, if I feel bad, it's going to have a predominant effect on me. The Saturn and the Pluto, that's in Leo, that's ruled by my sun. So that they only work well depending how confident I am. Ascendant ruled by, and Virgo ruled by Mercury, but Neptune and the Sun are in Libra, ruled by Venus. Jupiter's in Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Mercury's in Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Mars is in Scorpio, so Mars is in the sign it rules. It's the predominant one there. And Venus is in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. So, and there's nothing in the other sign. So this is my mix of rulerships. Okay, but it's like a scrambled mix. We're seeing it. I want to put some order in how we look at this. So we're going to build what I call a rulership tree, like a family tree, only it's a rulership tree. You start with planets and signs that they rule. So I have my moon in Cancer, there it is. I have nothing else in Cancer, so the moon isn't ruling anything else, it's just ruling Cancer and the 11th house. So my need to feel secure with friends and have friends like sympathetic with, that's my moon in Cancer. Okay, it's good and it's bad. Okay, so that's just, it can be really funny, it can be really sad, but that's my moon in Cancer. It runs its own. The other thing, the other planetary rule, I have Mars ruling Scorpio. So these are the two prominent factors, how I'm feeling and what I'm doing. What I'm doing, if I'm feeling good, I can do things. If I'm doing things, I'm really strong, I'm really into what I'm doing, really powerful into what I'm doing. then it begins to affect. So my actions affect all the other, tied up to all the other planets. So if I'm doing something, you say I can't do it, instantly I'm saying, oh yeah, and I'm more competitive. It's not quick for me to let go of the action. Why should someone else say? Like, so when I feel secure and I'm doing things, I'm really strong and powerful. The Mars in the Scorpio. It's committed, it's judgmental. Once I make a judgment and I'm doing something, I'm doing it, like I'm doing it. And then I learn. So really, my desire for experience is there, whether I understand what I'm doing or not. I look back, I say, well, I didn't really understand myself. I was a hippie. I was leaving family left, and I went out on my own. I just left. I didn't think about it. I just kept going. But then I was living different things, different lives. Now I look back and I think, well, that happened. Then I went to India, lived in India. Then I came back. Then I've lived in 3 different marriages, 3 different. I've done all kinds of things. I look back, did I really understand what I was doing at any one of those times? I don't know. My understanding was not guiding me. My passions and my force was. My desire for experience was. Probably still is. That's my ruling planet. So that Mars is in Scorpio. It rules anything in Scorpio or anything in Aries. I don't have anything in Aries. I have Jupiter and Mars and Mercury, Jupiter and Mercury in the 3rd house in Scorpio. So my power and the Mars, just by aspects, Mars increases, makes me more talkative and really powerful in my ideas, and Jupiter makes it more philosophical, more understanding. So this is all the stuff that fed my research. I got to know about astrology, I got to know these things, and I got to talk about it when I know it, and things like that. And boy, a lot of people don't like me talking about what I know. I know too much. But and I don't often, I'm not always just quiet. When I run into injustice, I have trouble a lot. When I run into something that I judge wrong, boy, I have trouble not acting on it or not saying something. So the Mars is ruling the Mercury and the Jupiter. So, and I included the IC on this because it's one of the factors so much. So the Mars rules, there's Mars ruling the Mercury, Mars ruling the IC, Mars ruling the Jupiter. So I started with the moon there, it's by itself, it's its own realm. Then the Mars ruling the Mercury, the way I think, ruling my understanding, and ruling my motivation. So what I'm motivated by, how I'm thinking, and my understanding is totally geared on whether I'm going for an experience or not. My learning comes from experience. My experience isn't guided by my learning. My understanding develops from my experiences. My sorrows, my losses, my angers, my hates, my things. These things have all, and my accomplishments and the things I've done. I've had a relatively adventurous life, but I haven't worked very much for other people. I'm one of these few people that have worked this astrology. That's been my main career for almost 50 years. I haven't worked at other things. So I've done my own thing. So anytime I've had a few other jobs, but as soon as somebody says you have to do this or says something the wrong way, I quit. I'm out of here. Give me my paycheck. I'm gone. So there could be issues of understanding, justifying, and understanding how I'm thinking, what's right, what's wrong. These develop based on where my Mars is at. As they come up, they can affect my Mars. Sure, Jupiter is going to advise my Mars, and Mercury, but they're going to have trouble. It depends on what I'm doing before the Jupiter and the Mercury can have the hold. They're affected by the things that I'm doing. One example. Once it was a young man. I think I probably just left home when I was living downtown Montreal, but I had a job in a restaurant, and we were cooking food, and we're in the restaurant, we're cooking. But I was cooking, and we had to prepare the food too. So there was 3 of us working in the place in the kitchen, and we got a delivery of potatoes. So we had a pile of potatoes. How would they be? Maybe about, when they took them out of the truck, they might have been about 5 feet across, 6 feet across, about 4 or 5 feet high, a big mound of potatoes. We had to peel these. Okay, I'd make French fries. I'd do these things. We had to peel all these potatoes. So we're sitting here. It's a hot, hot day. It's 95 degrees or so. We're outside. There's no shade, and we're having to peel these. We got a 4 or 5 hour job or an 8 hour job sitting there. So we're doing it. We're getting to 2 or 3 hours, and maybe we're 4 or 5 hours in early afternoon. And we asked the boss if we could sit in the shade. We could do. He says, no, you have to work out there. So we got mad at the boss. So I'm getting angry at the boss to no, and I'm doing things making it harder for us. It's harder for us to do things. So my understanding kicks in. This isn't right. And I can start thinking about it more and more. And so sometime in the mid-afternoon, another truckload comes in bringing watermelons. So we have to unload. We have to stop the potatoes for a while and bring in unload the truck full of watermelons. Well, maybe 20 watermelons or something like this, a certain amount. But we had to load them in. So we're bringing them in, and we're kind of tired, and we're just don't have our energy together that much. I picked one up and I held it over someone's head as if I was going to break it over his head. I just held it over his head. He looked at me and says, "You wouldn't dare." He shouldn't have said that. So I smashed that watermelon on his head. He took one, smashed it at me. Someone else took that, and within about 5 minutes, all 30 or 40 or 50 watermelons were all smashed, and we all had this watermelon that's on top of the potatoes. Everything's a mess. And we all just walked off the job there. Not very responsible. It went right out of control. It's totally ridiculous. And the guys, man, his anger, his oppressing us backed up, and it cost him some money, and we lost our jobs. And I don't think we got our last paycheck either. But that's an example of the Jupiter. My understanding tends to be over anger or over things, so when I run into something, it comes to affect my understanding. And then there's repercussions on it. It's harder for my Mars to be humble and listen to the Jupiter when Jupiter's in Mars domain and it's trying to understand all the things that have happened. By the time Jupiter takes 12 years to assimilate things, so by the time I've done something, it takes 12 years to understand, well, remember when you did that, you understand this. But in the meantime, I've done so many things that Jupiter hasn't necessarily assimilated. We all do that. So my mind, it's just an example to show how the action determines the understanding and develops the thinking, how it runs into things. And then this actually affects my motivation. Once I get motivated on it, I can't stop. So this is when it got to spiritual, when I got to all the things that would go wrong, eventually I had to back up to be into spiritual things because things weren't working right. Okay, so that branch is long. So we got this far. We saw the Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and Scorpio. Mercury, it rules Gemini and Virgo. Well, I have my ascendant, nothing else in Virgo. I have Uranus in Gemini. So Uranus and my ascendant is ruled by Mercury. So how I think, then I'm inclined to take an independent resolution. So what's right, what's wrong? This is like eventually I'm critical, I'm thinking critically, it shows on my face, and then I might see a way of breaking through to be independent. I got to work independently. I got to do something for myself. I can't just follow along everyone. So that brings up the success. So the part of me that's been the astrologer all my life, it's on this branch, but really it came from what experiences I ran into. More than learning the astrology first, I had visions and experience of astrology, and then I had to learn the astrology to learn the practical side of it after it. So then, but the Jupiter is interesting because there's a puzzle. Jupiter, if Jupiter were in Sag, it would be understanding, and I have me live up to my understanding. Here, my understanding is having to catch up to my actions, and it's doing well or badly when it's in touch or when. Then it affects my descendant in Pisces. It affects who I relate. If I'm doing things wrong, I'm not going to attract good people. I'm going to attract weird people. If at the same time, if I'm doing things and it's right or wrong, it's going to determine who I'm with or what I want to get. So here's my passions going out. Here's whether I fit in, here's the wives or what satisfies me. It comes in. It's my understanding can see what's worthwhile, what I want. My understanding can guide my choices.